Hi and welcome back to Gaming Recaps. Today we are going to recap the remake for the blockbuster space horror game called Dead Space. So without further ado, let's begin. The game begins with a mission code CEC 529 details glitching on the screen. Before all of this could make sense, the screen disappears and we see a focused image of the iris of Nicole's eye. As the camera distance itself, we see her struggling to put up her camera in a fixed position. She immediately starts apologizing to Isaac. She struggles with trying to explain what's happening around her and how she desperately wished someone was around her. With her conversation ongoing, the camera begins to move further distance with Nicole's message playing on a video cam with Isaac sitting in front of the screen. Before Nicole could have finished off her words, Daniel comes from behind Isaac. Sensing her presence, he immediately turns off the video call. Daniel commented how they are going to reach, but seeing Isaac playing this numerous times indicate how much he has been missing her. As he tries to explain how 6 months apart on a video call is rough, their spaceship enters Aegis 7. Isaac shows his displeasure by explaining how entertaining it's going to be starting at a big chunk of rock. But his chief, Hammond, hush him down, saying how this is the richest finding of CEC, and some teams can give their life to be a part of this. They form visual contact with USG Ishimura, but seeing no correspondent lights on, they decide to enter the hailing range. They try to attain the attention of USG Kelly, explaining how they are the maintenance team that has come after receiving a distress call. With Isaac and Daniel talking about the possibility of a blackout, Hammond stresses out by asking someone to pick up the goddamn phone. But all they get is an obnoxious, disrupted voice. Sensing their communicator might be broken, Hammond gave the on-go to enter the spaceship. But as they proceed, they face a system failure that causes a crash. Isaac screams to go to the stabilizer and save everyone's life, but Jonathan, due to the crash, experiences a broken ankle. Hammond orders Daniel to stay with him till he sends medical help and asks the rest of the team to follow him. As the team continues their pace forward, they sense something off about the environment. Isaac looks around but finds no one. Hammond wonders if the crash might have alerted everyone, but no one has come yet to check on them. Finding it strange, he asks the rest of the team to hold their weapons up. He asks Isaac to open the gate, but the system fails to respond, finding no one at the immigrant booth. Still, Isaac gets everyone entered. Seeing the worst condition, Hammond orders Isaac to get the damaged report. Isaac hesitates to sense a strange smell, but when he looks at the report, it only adds to his worry and astonishment. Almost half of the planet cracker was damaged and was failing in responding to the call. Before they could say anything, Chin opens fire on something up above the roof, but a monster comes from behind and kills him. Hammond and Daniel escape through the roof and gives distress calls to Isaac to run too. He rushes off through the series of corridors panting. In the background, a crew member can be heard calling in distress for help. To save him, Isaac looks around for a weapon, but before he could save him, the monster kills him. Seeing this, Isaac opens a ceasefire and kills him. Through his walkie-talkie, Vincent can be heard cursing while trying to explain how the monster didn't even die when shot him in the center of the eyes. Rushing around, he finally sees Hammond and Daniel alive. They both explain how there are more monsters out there, and taking a detailed look at their outfits, they are wearing the uniform of Ishimura. Hearing their conclusion of how these monsters could be the crew, Isaac gets more confused. Hammond asks Daniel to retrieve the system and take them out of there, although she returns in despair, telling how the entire chamber is in lockdown and only Isaac can revive the system from his side. A little hesitant, yet Hammond orders Isaac to go and tells him to be careful. As Isaac strives to find his way, he could hear Hammond talking about how these monsters can be killed only after shooting on their arms and legs. As Isaac removes the tram, he gets continuously attacked by the monsters. As Hammond and Daniel get on board with the tram pod, he instructs Isaac to fix Kelly while he and Daniel will report to the bridge following the protocol. Hearing the protest from Daniel's end, he ends the conversation by telling her how he will not lose anyone else. But when they reach the bridge, they find no survivors. In the meantime, Isaac rushes to their spaceship, Kellyan. Haley gets panicked seeing blood on him, but before he could explain, monsters attack them, causing an explosion with Haley in it. Before he could mourn his friend, 2 monsters attack him, but he ends up killing both of them. He gives the news to Hammond and Daniel. Hearing this, they try to access the captain's code, but find him deceased. They try to come up with another plan, with Isaac trying to find his body to uplift the primary lockdown. As they were talking, Daniel and Hammond get attacked by something, losing their signals. As they get back, Isaac seems happy seeing them. He reports how the entire morgue was burnt down. Hammond tries to make the dots meet, explaining how it must have been to keep something inside because what just attacks them was Chen. But hearing his explanation, he becomes confused as he saw Chen dying right in front of his own eyes. Isaac tries to look for Nicole, but a bizarre shock shakes the entire ship. Trying to look for the source, we hear Dr. Mercer's voice in the background, who is mesmerized by creatures called Necromorphs who defy death itself. Isaac enters a chamber where a hologram of Dr. Kyne strongly opposes these experiments by subjecting how people are dying because of it. But Captain Matthews tries to bring him at ease, explaining the progression needs sacrifices like this. As the conversation ends, the hologram disappears. Hammond instructs Isaac to find Dr. Matthews' body again, emphasizing how their life depends upon it. As he tries to find it, he comes across Nicole's hologram that explains how these patients are growing at a mutated rate. She fills the room with all the necessary weapon equipment to fight off any emergency. Another patient's distressed voice can be heard, filled with venom for everyone who left her in this condition. This is cut again by Dr. Kane's voice, who explains how 40% of the population is now experiencing all the symptoms, including hallucinations. Hearing this, Isaac rushes again to look for the body, but before he could access the code through the captain's body, a monster barges in and converts the captain into one of the monstrous beings. Isaac kills it, but not taking any risks. Hammond asks him to go to the security chambers before he can do something, as he believes it will be safer for him there. But seeing the system going to the crashing zone, Isaac goes to the control room but is left astonished by almost no fuel. In the background, the distressed voice of the crew from the engineering could be heard, how one by one they started killing themselves. In the mid of this, Daniel appears, explaining how she is hidden in the computer core. As Isaac revives the centrifugation stability, Daniel breaks the news of being the marker on the ship. Isaac rushes through the passage of what looks like the inside of a living being. He hears Nicole's voice coming through, asking about his whereabouts. But before he could respond, the voice finishes off. Hammond emphasizes how they need to fix everything when both Daniel and Isaac confront him about knowing everything that was happening. They also accuse of him coming all the way here just to save Marker. Isaac asks both of them to stop explaining how they all need to make it out alive. When he meets with Hammond, he tries to swear how he didn't know what was happening, but Isaac says he might believe him, but he is sure that the administration knew. As he goes back to revive the system, he comes across a video where it can be seen it was Dr. Kanye who killed the captain in an argument. He also found out Marker has a link to Unitology, which believe that even after death, the believer needs to donate his body to the church. In the meanwhile, Daniel goes through the reports and find out how the tissues even on the walls of the system are alive, and these creatures turned the crew into a same-sex monstrous corpse. As Hammond and Isaac figure out how to revive the system, Daniel receives a message from the medical corps, which she shares with the rest of two. Seeing Nicole's face, calling out for the survivors makes Isaac rush to the core. But when he reaches, he lost signals, making him inaccessible to Daniel. He hears another doctor's voice, and when inquired about Nicole, he simply says she is busy. Not believing a word of his, Isaac looks for Nicole, but he comes across a laboratory where many patients were chained to the bed. The voice of the same doctor echoes, tricking a patient to give his agreement to experimenting. Isaac rushes to the other room, but seeing a hologram of Nicole giving up the message, he realizes how he has been tricked. Dr. Mercer barges into the room, attacks Isaac, and then mocks him up for being the reason behind the delay of the marker. But he laughs it off, telling Isaac how his death will enable him to find the missing factor, and shuts him in a room with a monster. Daniel saves him by opening the chamber of the chemistry lab. In midst of finding his way out, he comes across a patient who explains the air is getting poisoned and Isaac needs to find liquid nitrogen to save all of them. Daniel confirms it. Isaac rushes off to cryo in search of liquid nitrogen. As monsters attack him, Daniel blocks them out. But he meets Dr. Mercer again and threatens him that if he tried to hurt Nicole, he will kill him. But Mercer explains how he has other plans for making mankind whole. He will take these things to Earth and will serve his purpose of saving humanity. He warns Isaac to choose his side wisely before he left with yet another monster trying to attack Isaac. This time he fights it off. Before the air gets clocked off with poison, Isaac looks for an enzyme that could help, but the hologram of Dr. Elizabeth asks him to turn back as the monsters have destroyed all the fresh things they have created. While Isaac makes his way to food storage, a sudden video call from Dr. Cross stops him, who mentions that there's no way into the room and that the Leviathan inside would kill him. However, after learning that Isaac completed the enzyme, Cross gives him the alternative plan of finding the Weezers connected to the Leviathan around hydroponics and injecting them with the enzyme to weaken the Leviathan. He fights off a big monster and last minute saved by Dr. Cross, who informs him how they all now just need to go to the mining deck built by Jacob to ask for help. As Isaac starts his journey to go there, Hammond's distress call makes him go back to the deck, planning to possibly prevent a get-together of all the unitologists. But before he could reach back again, Hammond calls again, showing how they are gathering in the deeper part of the ship along with a marker. He suggests all of them leave as soon as possible. After reaching equipment maintenance and taking the gondola, Isaac is surprised to find Nicole on the other side. She helps him get into the equipment workshop and find the SOS beacon before setting off, mentioning that she'll catch up. With the beacon secured, Isaac heads back toward mining control. Isaac experiences auditory hallucinations from former crew members. He eventually clears his way to Shuttle Bay by destroying the vines in the central nexus. Isaac finds Dr. Mercer and Jacob Temple's advance, resulting in Mercer killing Temple. Unleashed a hunter on Isaac again. Isaac's mission leads him to the chief steward's office, where he meets Dr. Terrence Kyne for the first time. The doctor says that Isaac can't leave the ship yet, as the only way to stop the Necromorphs is to retrieve the marker. He retrieves it, and as he communicates with Daniel. As Isaac goes near the shuttle, a bullet goes off, killing Dr. Kyne. He dies groaning in agony. Daniel suddenly appears, explaining how she didn't trust Isaac all along with the marker. She reveals how she works for Earth's government and she was here to clean up an old mess. The marker was all human-made and this entire planet was a test. She leaves by bidding Isaac goodbye, commenting on his engineering skill which will pull him off this ship. Before he could move again, Nicole's voice message come through. She asks him to come to the flight room as they can still go out from this planet. Meeting him there, she reminds him how he will make them whole again. But in the spaceship, the screen goes black and we see how Nicole was never there. To begin with, a new monster roar can be heard. Isaac sees Daniel holding Nicole at a gunpoint. Isaac asks her to stop saying how the entire planet is going to rip off. But Nicole's message from the beginning completely plays off, where in the end it's seen she killed herself before Isaac could even come back to the planet. He rushes off to fight off the monster and kills it. He rushes to get on the ship and sees the planet get destroyed. He takes off his mask to play Nicole's message again. But suddenly Nicole appears beside him, saying how she wishes someone was there to talk to her before she attacks him. The game ends here. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe for more great videos. We will see you in the next one.